Hello grade 6. So this video is just a continuation on our poetry unit. We introduced poetry a couple weeks ago, then we focused on the hatchet, and basically what we talked about then is we talked about structure, right? We did talk about how its meaning, and we will talk about that more. But we talked about stanzas and lines and how all poems have lines, which is the individual, almost like a sentence, and stanza is like the paragraph. So today what we're talking about we're talking about rhythm and rhyme. This first video will be about rhyme patterns in poetry. Alright, so rhyme patterns in poetry in our smile, it follows under a little bit of structure, and some effect. Alright, because it kind of enhances the effect of poetry. So once again, poetry is meaning making, right? We have experiences in our life, and we're trying to communicate with people how we experienced it. So either we're writing about ourselves, either we're writing about something we read that really influenced us, or we're writing about the world. Okay? And if we're doing that, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make people understand kind of how we see all of these things. Okay? So reading and writing for poetry, we did talk about how meaning can come from a lot of areas in poems. We're focusing on two things. We're focusing on rhythm and sound devices. So the first thing, sound devices, right? Writers love to use interesting sounds in their poems. After all, poems are meant to be heard. And that's what we're going to start doing, is we're going to share our poems out loud, which I'm very excited to do. We're going to share ours on Thursday. All right, these sound devices include, they have 5 things: rhythm, rhyme, repetition, alliteration, automatopoeia. Now they can have other stuff, but those are the ones we're kind of going to talk about today. So first thing, rhythm is like the beat in a poem. Think about when you're listening to music. Sometimes you have slow songs, sometimes you have fast songs like in rap, but in poetry you have the same thing. Some poems are meant to be slow and stretched out. Others are really cut to the chase and really fast and to the point. Okay? Rhyme is what we're focusing on today. Usually the end of the line will have a word that rhymes with the end of the line of the next line. They'll make more sense. But usually they'll be rhyming inside of a poem. Repetition. So sometimes, as you can see here, okay, sometimes what you have is you have sentences in your poems that repeat words to make it just sound more pleasing. Someone tossed a pancake, a buttery, buttery pancake. Not only by repeating the word pancake are you reinforcing that word, but but it also, like, things like buttery and buttery. Those are fun things to hear and say. Okay, so once again, but there's meaning behind it, but why we included it. I think Justin Bieber in an interview once he was talking about fondue in his song Boyfriend, and why he included it. It's just because he liked the word fondue. And that's sometimes okay. We're trying to make people enjoy listening to it as well. As well, there's alliteration. So alliterations are figurative languages. This is the repetition of the first consonant. So it's like the sound of a word. So the word sound has an S sound in it, right? The word computer has a k, k, k. So an alliteration is when we repeat that sound or the k, k sound. It can be other sounds. But this example we have is the snake slithered silently along the sunny sidewalk. It's kind of like ASMR, right? But the snake slithered silently along the sunny sidewalk. It adds, again, interesting sounds in your poem. And the last one that we can add is called automatopoeia. These are basically words that describe a sound that's made. So if you shoot a gun, the gun kind of makes a bang sound. And we can represent that by putting B-A-N-G. So that's an automatopoeia. Right? If we are blowing up a balloon and it explodes, it makes a pop. And so because it sounds like a pop, we write it like a pop. And when we put that in our writing, it can really enhance our poetry. Sometimes it's not needed in stories, but in our poetry it's good. What we're focusing on today is rhyme and rhyme pattern. So that's what we're really going to focus on. Rhymes are often words at the end with the same sound, all right? So at the end of a line, the next line will sometimes rhyme with that word. So things like cat, hat, and bat, they all rhyme together. They have that at sound. Another one you can think of is rat, right? Rhyming doesn't all have to be spelled the same, as we can see with the example of cloud and loud. They're spelled nothing alike. This is why the English language is oh so fun. They're spelled nothing alike, but they do rhyme. It's very confusing, but you can do that. Rhyme is often It's not a criteria, right? It doesn't say if it's if it rhymes, it's a poem. But at the same time, it's not all poems have to rhyme. But usually poems do have some element of rhyme. It is the most common sound device that we found in poetry. So when we talk about all of these ones, the one we see the most often is rhyme. Okay, 4 common rhyming patterns. As you can see, it's spelled really sloppily, but in these brackets, right, those 4 letters, those make up the stanzas. Each letter is the end of a line, and it will make more sense as we go through it. Poems can choose from a variety of different rhyming patterns. So first we have is an AABB pattern. All right, that means line 1 and line 2, you can tell by the colors, are going to rhyme together, and line 3 and line 4 are going to rhyme together. Okay, they're not, so B, 3 and 4, line 3 and 4 will rhyme together, but they won't rhyme with 1 and 2. Snow makes whiteness where it falls, the bushes look like popcorn balls. Line 1 and 2 rhyme together, right? And places where I always play look like somewhere else today. This one is an ABAB rhyming pattern. That means lines 1 and 3 will rhyme together, and 2 and 4 will rhyme together. Okay? I love noodles, give me oodle. Oodles means a lot. Oodles. Make a mound up to the sun. Noodles are my favorite foodles. I eat noodles by the ton. So we still have rhyming at the end of the lines, but the pattern is slightly different. This is a ABAB. This is an ABBA, or ABBA. It's also a band, right? In here, so what you have, this line that I was drawing before, right, is this is, remember, this is our stanza. So this whole thing is our stanza. This individual one is a line. So in line 1, it's going to rhyme with line 4. Line 2 is going to rhyme with line 3. Let me fetch sticks. Let me fetch stones. Throw me your bones. Teach me your tricks. So just a different rhyme pattern here. And the last one we'll just talk about. Now there's countless others, which we'll talk about in the next video. But this one here, the last one we're going to focus on is this one. Okay? So the alligator. This is where line 1 actually doesn't rhyme with anything. And line 3, I'm just going to use purple, also doesn't rhyme with anything, but 2 and 4 rhyme together. The alligator chased its tail, which hit him in the snout. He nibbled, gobbled, and swallowed it, and turned right inside out. So it's talking about an alligator eating its tail and turned inside out. But there is still rhyming in this stanza, it's just not even how we see it before. We're going to be focusing on 2 poems. 2 poems that I think really teach the idea of what rhyme patterns is. Couplets and limericks, and we're going to start with a limerick. So a limerick is a silly poem of 5 lines. So usually they don't make a lot of sense. Okay? It has a very strict meter, so it has a very strict way that you're supposed to talk and rehearse it. And hopefully you can pick it up from my voice. We will talk about it a little bit. Limericks often start with kind of the line, there once was a something, or there was a what. It tells a story. So this example on the right doesn't have that one, but we'll talk about that. In a limerick, there are 5 lines, but we have an line A, so line 1, 2, and 5 are going to rhyme together. Line 3 and 4 are going to rhyme together. Okay? So line 1, 2, and 5. Let's read this one to the right. What is a limerick, mother? It's a form of a verse, said brother, in which lines 1 and 2 rhyme with 5 when it's through, and 3 and 4 with each other. So let's just look at the rhyme scheme, because that's really all we're worried about today is the rhyme scheme, but I will talk about the beat. Lines 1, 2, and 5. All right, they end with mother, brother, and other. They all rhyme together. Lines 1 and 2, lines 3 and 4 also, 2 and through rhyme together. So that's what we have to know for the rhyme pattern. That's all we have to know. So when you're writing your 2 today, I want you to focus on the rhyme pattern more than anything else, because that's our focus. With limericks, There's also something about syllables. If you don't remember what a syllable is, it's how many beats are in a word. So for instance, syllable, when you say it out loud, syllable has 3 syllables. If I say my first name, right, Callum, it has 2 syllables. Oftentimes, lines 1, 2, and 5 will have 8 or 9 or 10, will have the most syllables. Okay, they'll have the most syllables. Lines 3 and 4 will have the fewest, so they're shorter. That's really all you have to know. Lines 1, 2, and 5 are longer. Lines 3 and 4 are shorter. Okay? And that's what I want you to focus on. This is an example. What I have underlined are places of emphasis. Here what I have is that lines 1, 2, and 5 will have about 3 beats per line. All right, 3 beats per line. So that's why it's underlined. A beat is when you're saying it out loud, is where you should emphasize your words. So I'm going to read this out and then we'll analyze it. There was a young girl in a tower who looked just as fresh as a flower. Her hair was like silk, her skin smooth as milk, but her breath made the strongest night cower. So again, where we emphasize, it's almost like we have that, I think we talked about a metronome. If we haven't, a metronome is what they play when they play the piano. Right? It goes like, it's almost like you want to think you have a drum, right? Or it's like a rap battle, and you're emphasizing a word, or you're hitting your fist at certain points. And that's what I've underlined. On the first 2 lines in the 5th line, you have 3 points of emphasis because they're longer. On the 3 and 4, you only have 2 points of emphasis. There was a young girl on a tower who looked just as fresh as a flower. Her hair was like silk, her skin smooth as milk, but her breath made the strongest night cower. Okay? So I counted all the syllables just to show you what they have. Let's do the first one together. All I'm going to do is put a little dash on the top for how many syllables are in each word. There was a young girl on a tower. Count that up, that's 9. Who looked just as fresh as a flower. Her hair was like silk, that's 5. Her skin smooth as milk, but her breath made the strongest night cower, and that's 10. So again, we're showing the emphasis about how long the lines are. And the last thing we got to look at is look at the pink, look at the blue highlighted words. We notice that we have an A, B, A rhyme scheme. So that is a limerick. This is the next one. You can do this the same thing. I've underlined the points of emphasis, right? You can look at it so you can kind of understand it more, but we're going to move on. The next poem is a rhyming couplet. Basically, this one's really easy. All you need to know is that a rhyming couplet is 2 lines, and at the end of those 2 lines, it rhymes, right? It's a pair of lines that are usually rhyming and they express some sort of thought. So if you have a stanza, as we have here, the rhyme scheme will be AA and then BB if there's more. And if there's more of that, it might be CC or DD. So let's read this poem, Catch a Little Rhyme. It doesn't make any sense, but it shows you how couplets rhyme together. Once upon a time, I caught a little rhyme. So again, those 2 lines rhyme together, time and rhyme. I set it on the floor, but it ran out the door. So those 2, they're BBs because they don't rhyme with time and rhyme from the first 2 lines, but they do rhyme together. I chased it on my bicycle, but it melted to an icicle. I scooped it in my hat, but it turned into a cap. Where we can find all of these is with a lot of kind of younger poems and a lot of like Dr. Seuss or Shel Silverstein. So here's some more famous examples. So the first 3 are just couplets, like one pair of couplets. I have the measles and the mumps, a gash, a rash, and purple bumps. Sorry, something in my eye. Ooh. You say that today is Saturday. Goodbye, I'm going out to play. So you notice how they just rhyme together, one line into the next line. So this is limericks and couplets. What you're going to do is you need to create 2 limericks and 2 couplets, and I just want you to focus on the rhyme scheme. I will tell you how many lines I want of each. It's going to be 4 probably. I don't expect too much. 4 or 6. I changed my mind. But anyways, And I just want you to start working on that idea of rhyme patterns and coming up with lines that rhyme together. Okay? I hope this video was a little bit shorter. Looking at it, absolutely, it's only a 5 minute shorter. Sorry about that. Do the assignment, hand it in, get to the second part.